Hey everyone, it's Nicole from Wiki. Welcome to our Supercoach Round 8 preview. Welcome, Shane. We're speaking from different countries once again.
Yeah, it's not the same. I think not being able to record the pod together, not having Christmas music on in the background. I could
Yeah.
try having some fed into my earphone, but it's not the same.
It's definitely not. It's funny, like in Australia, I've been went out to grab some fish and chips for lunch today, and it's like the vibe in India versus Australia. Delhi versus Sydney could not be any more different. Delhi, it's like I think Shane was telling me it's like 7 degrees this morning. It's freezing cold. In Sydney, to give you some context, I'm inside the house, had some aircon on all day or whatever. I've put in ice cubes in my water downstairs. By the time I've come upstairs, which is like the best part of 30 seconds or a minute, my ice cubes have melted already. It is humid as shit at the moment in Sydney. Ridiculously different.
I don't think that's really necessary to point out, given that there's a fan whirring above your head in the background.
Yeah, and the fan's only on because I'm too cheap to get my AC fixed because it costs more than $1,000 to get that sorted. So yeah, don't even get me started on all of that. But anyways, I was gonna say let's go on to some more fun stuff, but I've had an absolute shit show with my super coach team over the last week. So I might let you go first, Sushane. You want to give us a really quick recap of how your team's been going?
I'm not going much better. I'm probably
Uh,
going worse. But I guess one thing, well, okay, there was some good stuff that happened since our last pod. Luckily, that Stars Renegades game did go ahead. It was shortened by rain, but we did have a game. We had about 14 overs aside, which was just a massive relief for me because I had gone hard on the Stars. And the reason I did that is because everywhere around me, and obviously, like, this isn't the most reliable way to do things, so I wouldn't recommend it. But everybody around me on the Discord, on the Twitter, etc., they were all pre-gaming for round six, the strikers and the scorchers doubles. So they had a lot of players from those teams. And I thought there's an opportunity here, I think, that I'm not doing too well, but I can make some gains here if I target the stars because it looks like nobody else is. And
hmm,
that's what I did. And as I think was clear, my guys only needed to perform competently in order to get me a bit of a rank gain, which is
that's a
what
lot
they
to
did.
ask.
Yeah. Imad Wasim got a wicket, Steketee got a wicket. Um, wasn't like some kind of dominating performance, but they did their job. Um, and yeah, I got I think a 1.4K rank gain out of that in that
Wow.
round. So and in round six, I didn't do so well because I wasn't as well covered across strikers and scorchers as I think everybody else. But I did nail my captaincy, which has been a theme this season. So
Wow.
I held
Nice.
rank. I'm looking at it right now, and I only fell about 109 ranks overall. So I'm still 4.6K as of round six.
What are you
However,
on
I
for this
think I should.
round so far?
Um, I'll have to check. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
had a
cool.
look yet, but my
Well,
but my live score is 683, so which is not great. I missed out on a couple of big picks there.
mm,
Uh, we could talk all about it, but this is meant to be a round
yeah,
eight preview, not a recap of round seven sadness.
yeah. Well, I'll do a very quick recap of mine because mine's entertainingly shit. So last, I think I was between. So round one, if you guys remember, I started really badly because that abandoned game, the rained out game, really screwed me. Whatever. Don't want to make excuses. Moved on. From about round two to five or six for like a solid chunk of the season, I was sort of lurking between the early to mid 1000s in rank. I think that was around to 2 to 3% overall, I think roughly, which I was pretty happy with. It was pretty cool. But I guess, as my philosophy is, especially for BBL Supercoach, because it's a shorter season, I'm much more, I guess, emotionally invested into NRL Supercoach and fantasy because it goes on for longer, and well, I've always taken it more seriously. But I thought there's no point sort of like sticking around this sort of thousandth rank. Let's try to do something different. So I did. Everyone was going Matt Short or Aaron Hardy, and I went Jason Behrendorff, and that did not pan out well. But can't complain. I purposely took that risk. It did pay off, and that's completely fine. What I was absolutely heartbroken about though was I was telling Sashane and the guys on Discord, literally like forgot what day of the week it was now, but it was just before the Heat played their game, and I traded in Monroe and I vice captained him, and I was pretty excited about it because everyone else was going Paul Walter. There was nothing wrong with Tall Paul, but I just haven't been able to watch a lot of the Big Bash, and I was like, I don't really want to be vice captaining some guy who isn't always getting four overs, isn't always getting consistent bat, and he has done really well. But look, I do like Monroe. Let's try to do something different, right? So I had him set vice captain. And I got overexcited because I had all this free time now that I'm back home. And I tried to muck around with my trades between the toss and the game. And I did that. I was like, oh, wow. I was really happy with what I actually managed to do. And when I was sort of staring at my team in that sort of state of happiness, I looked at the time and I was like, oh shit, it's 7:14 p.m. It's a minute before the game starts. I better make sure whatever I've done here, I just need to move Monroe back into my team because that trade, whatever I'd done, meant that he was outside of my team and he was my bloody vice captain. So I was like, I better sub him back in and set him as vice captain. All of this happened in like a split second, like less than 5 seconds, right? In that time, the game locks out, and I wasn't able to even have the emergency on Monroe. He was literally like, there's your team, there's the two guys on the outside, Monroe's just outside, no emergency. Goes on to get 50, or was it 60 odd in the actual game? I think he got,
56.
yeah, 56. I think he got about 86 or something like that, super coach points.
Yeah.
And he's got a game to go. And he would have been my vice captain, and I would have taken his points as my captain, etc., etc. At that point, I lost all sort of like emotional attachment with my team. Now I will still do my team, I will still care, but just after that, I was absolutely gutted because it's not like I was completely careless. I would never sort of like
Mm.
leave my trades late. I always do everything early. I'm always on time. This is just a freak accident, and literally the split seconds cost me that. Anyways, that's enough whinging. But just yeah, if you do play Supercoach or fantasy, these are the things you just really can't stuff up. Like just I always tell people it takes 5 minutes. Just do your trades, set your captain, and then move on if you're busy. But yeah, these are the things that can really stuff you up. But it did mean that I dropped from about 1,500 to about 2,800. Well, I'm currently I think 2,800th. And this round, I'm doing pretty shockingly, and I'll probably drop into the 3,000 somewhere, but that's okay. Yeah, we live and we learn and we move on. Should we?
Um, given how far apart we were, we might actually end up in the same rank tier,
Oh God.
which is just honestly shocking, like considering how thoroughly average I've been all season.
Well, I
Um,
hope it means that you're moving up the ranks and not that I'm dipping down further, hopefully.
it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both actually because
Yep.
I held rank in the last round, right? And honestly, I'd be delighted if I was able to do that this round. I
Mm.
was delighted. Last round, I'd be
I think
absolutely delighted
honestly,
if
I
I was
think we're
able
screwed
to
this
get
round because I'm on like 808, I think, and I've only got three
yeah,
scorches tonight, and one of them's Sam
yeah,
Whiteman. Uh, I
yeah.
assume you don't have that many Heat or scorches players. How many do you have?
No, I'm a bit more well covered. It's just I need the rain to stay away in Brisbane,
Mm.
and just for my guys to get a bowl. It's like some of it was just rotten luck because I went for both heat spinners.
Ah,
Because I couldn't because of well, too much to get into right now, but I couldn't afford to get up to like a Walter or a Bartlett. So
yep.
obviously, as you can tell, I had neither of those guys. So I'm already sort of like already already missed out on their points. But I have Kuhneman and Swepson. If you remember, Kuhneman bowled 3 overs in the last game, but he didn't take a wicket. And as I was sort of following the ball by ball commentary, it said that he was struggling to grip the ball because it was wet, right? So like that's another example
Perfect
of how
night for
his
seam
condition.
bowling though. Like when Nisa and
Oh yeah.
well Bartlett and
Hmm.
Nisa from memory dominate early, that they look so bloody
Hmm.
good. But
It
anyways,
was over,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's
And
yeah,
Swepson didn't get a bowl at all, right? And I thought,
yeah.
man, I thought this guy has two home games. He just didn't bowl in one of them. He was playing, he was there, he was on the field. It was just
Yeah,
ah
and
boy.
what would really suck is you see Cam Boyce and he's had two spell. I know it's a completely different player,
Yeah.
team, venue. I get that, but
Mm,
both leggies, both decent leggies. But you see Boyce doing so well on like a flat track, and then you see Swepson unfortunately not even getting a bowl
yeah.
in one of their games. But Anyways, it's been a little bit of a shit show, but I think the cool thing about doing this podcast, it's kept us accountable. It's also sort of like if you're watching along with this, and I hope you guys are sort of doing better in your Supercoach seasons than we are at the moment. It's also I guess sort of letting people know that like just because we put a lot of time and research and effort into this game doesn't mean that you're always going to do well. And look, a lot of people maybe put a lot less time and do a lot better. So I think all we can do is sort of talk through our picks, talk through a lot of the player options, or like the popular options, sorry, and help people out with their teams. But look, let's finally get into it. We'll probably do like a bit more of a review, maybe just before round 9 to kind of sum up like our season a little bit. But let's actually get into what we're here to talk about, which is round 8. I think the first that you've got is there's no doubles for the first time this season. That's going to make things really interesting. How do you think you're going to play that?
There's no buys either. I think everyone's playing. So Sydney clubs,
Yep,
Melbourne
4 games.
clubs, Scorchers, Heat, Strikers, Hurricanes. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it's perfect. I think the most interesting decision will be captaincy for this one. Strikers are at Hurricanes in game one. Uh, just vice captain Matt Short. Just do it. He's the clear play here, I think. His if you're in the sort of top 5-10% of coaches, his his ownership is like 99, 98, something like that. Um, there's no unique gains to be had here. He's going to be a very popular captaincy. He just played the Hurricanes. Well, yesterday he made what 45, and I think he bowled a little bit as well. He made 100 against them last year. First game of the round, vice captain Matt Short seems like a pretty obvious play here. Um, but
You
the strategy bit that's going to be really interesting is there's no buys. So unless you have a non-player in your squad, how are you
mm.
going to do the VC loop? Um,
You, sorry, I was just gonna say when you mentioned that in your notes, my first instinct was like, oh no, I'm not doing a straight captain. Like I just couldn't think of doing that. And then I thought, oh
yeah.
crap, so Shane's caught me out here. I actually thought I didn't have a
Mm,
non-player because the guy I was using this round was Fraser McGurk, just because the Renegades are on the
mm,
bye. And then I looked at my team and I've got Zach Crawley, who I'm pretty sure is leaving. So leaving after this round, sorry. So and I've also got Sam Harper. Actually, I've got Sam Harper. I'm sweet for the rest of the season. Well, actually, it's not funny. He's got a pretty bad concussion, so I hope he's doing well. But for super coach purposes, Sam Harper very unlikely to play again for the Stars this season, and therefore it's the perfect setting for my for my super coach team. But how about yourself? Do you have any players in your team that won't be playing again, or
yes, I do actually, but this one isn't because of injury. It's Nick Maddinson on my bench. Um, Oh, I knew he was going to be useful for something, not for
a
super
skipper?
coach points, but at least for the loop. Yeah. So, but I am really interested for people who don't have a player like that on their bench. What
Yep.
are they going to do? It's tricky, right? Maybe if you still have a boost left and you were planning to use it, maybe you can get like a 42K just to sit on your bench. A, that frees up cash. B, that gets you in like trouble you can
Especially a
loop with.
keeper. I'm pretty sure there's a 42K keeper. Because if you've
There's
got
a few guys.
there are okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Because if there's a 42 keeper, you just start with that keeper, and then you have your sort of keeper batsman or whoever you have them on your bench as your emergency, and you just don't have to think about it. Like you're kind of set.
Hmm. Yep. Um, so that was the sort of the main stuff that came up for the captaincy. I'm looking at my notes again. Um, it's so I'll get into the Thunder in a second, but I think
Yep.
um it's so Hurricanes are back at home in this game, first game of the round. They are much better at home than away from home. They won a couple of so they had a run of 3 home games in a row from rounds 3 to 5, and I think they won 2 of those. I think, and the only one they lost was to the Stars, and even that was a rain shortened game where Maxwell
Mm.
was just in his element, right? Like a 7 over chase or whatever it was, and
Ah,
he just went to town. And maybe if that was a full game, they might have won that. But Hurricanes are just a different team at home, and they're much worse away from home, and Strikers are just much worse away from the Adelaide Oval. So if you're at all like me, and one of the things that you consider when putting together your team is how will this game unfold and trying to predict the shape of the game and trying to make your picks based on that. This is, I think, very, very relevant. It'll also be very important for you to hold certain Hurricanes because they're at home. Ben McDermott's, I think, a popular choice because he's been sitting on everyone's bench this season. Hurricanes double in round seven. They started him. He absolutely gunned it yesterday, made an unbeaten 95. He's another great option. I think you can actually hold him for this round as well. Round eight, like you don't need to spend a trade necessarily on him right now because, well, he's got a home game against the Strikers. He's good at home. Strikers are bad away from home. That's, I think, a hold. All of your other Hurricanes guys as well, whether you went for Jordan or Ellis or whoever, I think you can actually hold on to your Hurricanes for a little bit longer.
Yep, and not to say that you need to trade out your Hurricanes, but I've had this is more on the punting side than Supercoach, but in the last sort of 3 nights, there's been times when the Hurricanes looked like they were almost definitely had beaten the Heat. I think it was Hurricanes Heat, right? Yeah, it was. So Hurricanes Heat, Tim David and Nikhil Chowdhury in the chase, and one of the bookies hadn't changed their price for Hurricanes to win the comp at that point. It was a pretty juicy price. And I thought, oh wow, this is a great price. Get on the Hurricanes. And then they went on to lose that game. Nikhil Chowdhury hit a six, but then got out in the last over. And the Heat just won in that game. Same thing happened yesterday with the Strikers. They looked dominant. And I put out a tip saying Hurricane Strikers to win the comp at 36-1. And they obviously did go on to win. I looking actually watching the games now the last few days, I reckon the Hurricanes are probably my favorite team this season in terms of the players that they have. I will say though, with Meredith injured, he went off with a side injury, I think, last night. Corey Anderson had to bowl the last ball of the over. I think if Meredith is out and Wade is also out, that batting, which is already looking shady or just not very good, with Wade, if he doesn't come back in and then lose Meredith from bowling, um, yeah, like I obviously haven't looked into the form and the venue stuff as much as you have, but it just really worries me. Like a team that I was really excited about it a week ago, I really thought the Hurricanes were going to be that team that makes a run towards the
Mhm.
finals. I actually think it'd go the other way now. And if obviously if Adelaide can sort of beat a Hurricanes team missing potentially Wade and Meredith, I'm hoping then the
Mm,
Adelaide Strikers make that run towards the finals because we're on both teams. But anyways,
mm,
we'll have to see how that goes. Just one quick little note for Supercoach with that game. Chris Jordan, what the hell? That's twice now that he's had ridiculous innings this season. Just hitting it so cleanly as well. And I think we were talking about his like previous years BBL uh like batting. He's essentially barely batted. And just even looking at what was I looking at before? I was looking at his 100 and his T20 blast numbers. I think those were the two comps I was looking at. And he's actually done that a few times this year. So I can't tell if it's a
mm,
case of he's worked on his batting more. He's kind of batted somewhere between 6 and 7 in the UK comps. And I think he's been batting eight-ish for the Canes this year. Long story short, he's improved with the bat, and he's actually, because the Canes are shit with the bat, he's also been getting more of an opportunity and he's
gets to
been
bat.
nailing those opportunities. So not to
Mm,
say that you should trade him in, like don't do that. But if you already have him, um, he's definitely a good one to hold, especially with Meredith gone. Like Jordan, I assume is already they're sort of like him and Ellis are like their main his the Canes main death guys. I'm assuming. I'm pretty confident with that. And if not, he'll definitely be there now with no Meredith as well. They'll be the two main quicks. So just a little note on Chris Jordan. He could be a sneaky one to if you do have him,
mm,
would not be trading him
mm.
out.
Right. The only thing that I will say is, he is. I think he's going to leave for the ILT20 sometime. I'll have to double
When I
check
saw your
when.
facial reaction to what I was saying, I was like, "Fuck! I think he's going to say he's leaving." Okay, fine. If
But
he's still in the country, keep him in your team. If he's
yeah.
not, then obviously piss him
Okay.
off. All
Oh
right, should we
boy.
move on to the
Okay.
Thunder?
Yes, yes, please. So game two of round eight is at the SCG. Sydney Smash, I think they call it. Thunder versus Sun, the Sixers versus Thunder. Um, and given that there's no doubles in this round, there's no other team to pull away your trades. And round nine, the only double left in the season is the Thunder in round nine. They're going to have three games in two rounds, and in round eight, there's nobody else. There's no other club that's on the like. There's no club on the double. There's nobody to pull away your trades. So I think you will see a lot of people using the round eight trade window to uh, buy Thunder. Basically, this window, round eight, and in round nine as well. Round eight to pregame for round nine, obviously, and with like with the Thunder, it obviously also depends on whether you still have a boost left and you have, let's say, an extra trade potentially. But you could really, really attack that Thunder double in round nine, and you can start right now. It's uh you could end up with six more Thunder from here minimum, depending on how many you already have. Um, the only thing I think that could potentially complicate things is if Hales might be leaving as well for the ILT20. Um,
That makes I think the LT20 starts on the 19th or 20th of January, which is just over
okay.
a week ago. And I'm looking at the fixtures really quickly. Am I looking at the fixtures?
Hmm.
Da,
So the
da, da,
last
da,
game of BBL Supercoach is the 17th of Jan.
18th.
So
But the
that's a
Thunder
week
do
from
play
now.
that. So I reckon
Yeah.
Hales almost definitely would play game one of the double, which is on the 14th. Whether he plays the game on the 17th with their season done and him needing to get to the ILT20s, I don't think I've read anything about that. So it's a little bit shady. They've also got Warner, Cadmore, and who's the other guy that's in their top three at the moment? Bancroft? Yeah,
Bancroft.
Bancroft's not going to go off to the test squad. So I've got a feeling like I guess these things kind of point towards maybe Hales will move on. Hales also had a bit of a hammy or a calf, I think calf. He had a calf
Yeah.
twinge at the end of his innings. He didn't field, or he was at least off the field because he was doing an interview with Fox. So there's a few things to consider with Hales. But actually, what I was doing was I had top 10% ownership, and I'd scrolled down, and then I'd filtered for Thunder players. And I was just very quickly going to
Mm.
get your thoughts on some of these. So, like every man and his dog will have Daniel Sams. Um, he's the most owned Thunder player at the moment at 30%. He bats and bowls. He's at 224K. He is very expensive, but they're on the double. Like you basically can't not have him. And then you've got Thunveer Sanger, Alex Hales, Bancroft, Ollie Davies, Green, David Warner at 125K, Alex Ross at about 100, TKC Cola Cadmore at 100, McAndrew at 108, and Sandu at 115. So they're probably like all the relevant options from what I was sort of looking through. Do you have a couple of favorites out of those?
I love the bowlers actually. I have a little line in my notes that says how to go about your Thunder trades. One thing that sort of really came up while we were just going through the squad news and injury and availability and so on is I mentioned that there are two windows to attack the Thunder and just get all their guys in. Maybe be a little bit cautious in at least one of those windows while things sort of clear up and we find out more about whether one is available or whether his brother's wedding will impact his availability or if Hales is set to leave and you know that hey Hales is only going to play half the round nine double so I want to go to somebody else or
Yep,
injury news and all of that other kind of stuff. So obviously, maybe don't attack both trade opportunities in rounds eight and nine with equal intensity. But
yep,
if you do choose to how to go about your trades, personally, I think it's always the bowlers for me. I think that get as many of their bowlers as you possibly can. Obviously, Sam's is going to be very popular, but maybe look at Nathan McAndrew as well. He bats at number seven as well, so he's like a good like he's gets some runs as well. Um, there's Sandhu's obviously in the team. Tanveer Sanga's like nailed on for 4 overs as a spinner. Green's obviously the captain, and I think so. They play their double at Monaca, and they play
yeah. I
at
was gonna say the
uh,
games are SCG, Monaca, and then the showground. That's their games in order.
Showground. That's their double. Yes, that's right. And they play at the SCG now. So, I was sort of looking at the looking at our T20 portal and looking at who's done well at, let's say, Monaco specifically, Sydney Showground, etc. Green's done quite well at both grounds. They're home grounds for the Thunder, obviously. So two home games. There's enough of a sample size to make at least some judgments based on sort of recent years' form. You can't go much wrong with the bowlers, I think, because they'll sort of divide up all the wickets between themselves in all three games, however many the Thunder end up taking. And you know that wickets will fall in these grounds. It's not like the Adelaide Oval
Mm,
where there's just no wickets on offer in the second innings. Yesterday's game was kind of unusual, I think, because compared to how you've seen, let's say, the Scorchers and Strikers game that happened where Strikers chased it one down. I mean, there's just
mm.
no wickets to be had in the second innings, right? It's kind of like that at the Gabba as well. So some of these grounds where are just like chasing grounds where you don't see any like that many wickets fall in the second innings, and you obviously don't really know about the toss beforehand for let's say if it's later in the game is later in the round, which might be a bit of a complication with your trades as well. But you know that wickets will fall at Sydney Showground. We saw what happened. It was turning square the other night, right, against the
Mm.
Scorchers. So wickets will fall. There are wickets to be had. There's reason I think to target the bowlers because whatever wickets are taken in those games, they will be shared around among your three or four main bowlers. Kind of like how it happened with the Hurricanes in the round seven double, where they had a double first game. Literally every bowler took wickets except the guy I had, Riley Meredith. But like Dooley got wickets, Chaudhary got wickets, Jordan got wickets, um, Ellis got wickets. I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happens in the Thunder's round nine double. I think whatever happens at the SCG round eight, you just got to sort of like take that if you're going to like just eat whatever happens in that game if you're using round eight's window to target for round nine.
Yep, I like your call on the bowlers. I usually am the opposite. I like going the sort of top order bats. I like the potential upside of a someone like an Alex Hales of like even if he's been out of form, or like a Ben McDermott. Usually, ironically,
Mm.
I have not had either of those guys in my team, which has been annoying. But no, like I do generally like the upside of batsmen. But I'm just looking at the players real quick now. If we kind of assume that most people don't have Sams and will be bringing in Sams, and if we assume that most people have used their two boosts already, sorry. So I'm assuming everyone's just going to go bang on Sams. That's 224K, which another assumption is that that'll probably mean that you're going to be short on cash because if you're not trading out Matt Short,
Mm.
you'd be sort of crazy to do that. It's unlikely that you're going to have such a high priced player to trade out for Sam. So you're probably trading out someone at 150, 160, 180, maybe max. So you're probably like losing 60 to 80K there on that Sam's trade. It probably means that you need to look for value with your other two trades.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how much sense I'm making looking through this. No, like I'm looking at Chris Green, Bancroft. You could probably only look at one of those two because they're both around 150, 160K. David Warner, if he flies into to the to the SCG or like to make the game at the SCG, like again, everyone will want to have him at 125K. But I'm looking at these value
Mm.
picks now. Like so you got McAndrew, Sandhu, and Davies, all between 108 to 116K. I love that point you made around McAndrew. If he's batting at seven, probably bowling sort of that
Mm.
3 to 4 overs ish. Really like that as a pick with some upside. And the other one for me, you mentioned
Mm.
Ross, but I'm looking at TKC, Kohler Cadmore. Unless there's some reason where Hales, Warner, Bancroft are all playing, and TKC either gets rested or I assume he'll just take Jukes' spot at four. But regardless, I think that's so TKC, Tanvir Sangha as well, sorry. So Kohler Cadmore, Tanvir Sangha, McAndrew, Sandhu, Davies. That's five players between 100 and 116K that are worth looking at. I think it just depends on
Mm.
what you want, right? Like so Shane said, if you're looking at
Yeah.
bowlers, you're looking at Tanvir Sangha at 102K. It's a bit of value. You know that he's going to get that game at the Shogun at the end. He was turning it square last game. You kind of hope that happens
Mm.
again. Sandu's actually been quite like is a different bowler in the last couple of seasons, and I actually kind of like him. And then you got that McAndrew potential upside of potentially getting a bit of a bat. All you need is
Yeah.
like one quick 20 out of him, and that's like a really nice little
Mm.
boost to his
Yes.
scoring. But there's a few options
Um,
there. Like it's not as bare as I was thinking in terms of cash, in terms of
mm,
money spent.
um, of course, right. So just to add to the whole money spent point, the value thing, um, if you really want to make the most of the value, you should trade them in now, round eight,
Yep.
because you don't want to risk somebody just catching fire against the Sixers and just massively shooting up in value. Because then if you want to buy them and Sam's and Bancroft later, that's going to be tricky, I think. So just whoever's cheap now, it makes sense to get to them first. Weirdly enough, because you might think, oh, what if Sam's just bowls first at the SCG as he that's where he usually does the best, right? So if you remember that game against the Stars where he bowled first and he took 4 wickets overall, and he took five, and so his 4 and 5 wicket hauls this season have both come bowling first. Um, One was against the Heat, I think, and the other was against the Stars. The 5 was
Thanks for
against Heat,
reminding me
and
of that.
yeah. So, so, but this
Mm.
is clearly a thing with him, right? And this is, I think, also relevant for captaincy in round nine. So you'll have the toss team information, etc. You'll have Thunder, the only club on the double. You'll have to make your decisions about vice captaincy and captaincy then. Um, and maybe like you don't like maybe you shipped out all your Heat guys. Maybe you don't have an easy way to loop whatever. It might be like I'd be a little more confident about going straight C on Sam's in round nine if he's bowling first, which you'll know in that first game, which is strikers at Monaco. So strikers are batting first, great chance to go straight C on Sam's. But yeah, if you're in that situation where he bowls first against Sixers at the SCG, value shoots up, he becomes even more unaffordable. Um,
Mm.
there, there's
Well,
it really depends on the price points that I think you currently have in your team and who you can afford to bring in.
yeah, one thing that came to mind as you were speaking about that, one thing that I haven't done at all because it's overseas, just uh making my decisions based on the fixtures because I was always feeling rushed, right? But now that I've got a bit more time to look through things, one thing we haven't discussed at all is break evens. And I don't know if I don't know if it's a part of Supercoach Plus. I think it is. So maybe everyone doesn't have access to this, but I'm just looking very quickly at I filtered only for Thunder players and I've sorted via
Mm,
break even. And I noticed that
mm,
Bancroft's break even is 106. So and
mm.
they're playing up again. Is that right? They're playing Perth. Did I have that right? Is that their next game? Yeah.
No, they aren't. They're playing the Sixers, right?
Yeah,
Round
I
eight.
thought
They've
that.
already
What the
played for
hell?
this round.
Sorry.
Yeah,
They okay, whatever. Okay, my bad.
that was
But
last
anyways,
last
yeah,
rounds. Yeah,
yeah. Sorry, it's just got the wrong
Earlier
thing
in the
labeled
round.
on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But anyways, so Bancroft's B break even is 106. So you definitely like there's definitely merit in waiting on him. Kohler Cadmore is
Mm,
the same. His break even's 84. So there's a couple of guys that are likely going to leak like a reasonable amount of cash unless they absolutely gun it in their next game. Same with Sandu. His break even's 76. McAndrews is 64. Davies 63. Tanvir Sangha 43. So yeah, like especially I'd say um oh, not Davies actually. Like Sandu, Cadmore, and Bancroft. Like I think it's completely fine to wait around to trade them in because they've got break evens between 76 and 106. Whereas on the flip side, if I sort the other way, you've got who do we have? So Daniel Sam's 26. He's already 224K and his break even's
mm,
26. He's almost definitely going to be going up in price. So like yeah, there's no reason to wait on him
mm.
at all. You want to bring him in. What's that?
Sorry, are these break evens for round seven? As in, they would have to
Ah, you're
beat
right.
these scores in round
This would
seven
be,
too?
yeah, I forgot there's a game left. So I think this was for
Yeah.
this round. You're right. My bad. My bad.
Okay. So I'm just
Um,
looking at the scores from the Scorchers game. Um, uh, One sec. Where's Sandhu? Sandhu got 7 points, so he's definitely vastly underperformed
can
his
you tell
break
me
even.
what Bancroft and Cadmore got?
12 and 47.
Yeah, perfect. So Bancroft is going to leak a shitload of cash when you sort of
Mm,
listen to this pod and make decisions for round eight.
yep,
So yeah,
yep.
you can make a decision on, yeah, he's leaked a bit of cash. Do I want to bring him now? Do I want to wait till he leaks a little bit more?
Mm,
Uh, and
mm,
on the flip side, Who was the option that I kind of liked? Daniel
Sam's.
Sams. How much did he get?
He only got 3 points, luckily, which is good.
Nice. Okay. So
So
maybe Sam's is at that awkward point where like he might have
yeah,
dropped a little bit of cash and his break
little
even's
bit.
going to go
Yeah.
up, which means that if he does fail again, he could potentially leak a little bit more. So that actually changes the conversation quite
Mm,
a bit. So it's a little bit
yeah.
messy, but it's something that we
But
can
then again,
definitely follow.
you have to take the risk, right? I mean, what if he just guns it against the Sixers
That's
in round
true.
eight, bowling first for example, which is how he's got all his wickets this season. But yeah,
Yeah.
like that's I think a risk that you'll have to take based on who you can buy now and who you can kind of wait on to leak a little bit more value. Yeah.
No, awesome. I think maybe if you want to just cover the last couple of points that you had, because I think in terms of
Yes,
what I wanted to go through,
we
I'm
can wrap
pretty
up.
much done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. So I think you can safely ship out the Heat now. They're going to play. So we're recording this on the Wednesday, which is the last, like just before the last game of round seven. Heat are at home to Scorchers. They're going to play the Scorchers again, round eight. So like this is kind of useful information for any heat you might want to keep in round eight. Somebody who does well against the Scorchers now, maybe you think, hey, you know what, I'll just keep them for round eight. Not essential to sell them now, but they are away at Scorchers. They are at Optus Stadium in round eight. Hardest game in this league. You can sell.
Yep.
It's not necessary
I
because
was
they
just
have
going
the
to say
buy
though,
in
if
round
you've
nine.
got a cheap Heat player, might be worth keeping them just for the loop. Like if you've got someone who's already
Yep,
leaked a ton of
exactly.
cash, um,
It's
yeah,
fine. Yeah, just stick them on the bench. They'll be useful in round nine.
yeah,
Daniel Sam's captain first game, whatever. Like however you want to play this, yeah.
yeah,
But obviously, like Heat players are at the point where their value is like the cash that you get from selling them is just so much more valuable right now than
of course,
um
yeah,
any points that they could possibly get. Like how much will your specific Heat picks get against the Scorchers at Optus Stadium, and I think they are officially at that tipping point now, or they will be after this round, where the money that you get from selling them is much more valuable than anything that you could get from holding them.
yeah.
Yes, and any good singles in the rest of the season? Now we've got 2 rounds left, starting with round eight. It's all singles. Everybody's on a single, and the only double left is round nine. Is Thunder in round nine? Most of so 7 out of 8 clubs just have singles to end the season. I just thought I'd take a look, go through maybe let's say any interesting games. Um, Stars are at a hopeless Renegades now, who are rock bottom of the ladder, and they're at home to Hobart in round nine. And as we sort of touched on, Hobart are just really bad away from home. Um, Stars, man, I think if you've got more than one star, which is Maxwell, you could consider starting them. Round eight, I think you kind of, I think round eight is like a much stronger opportunity to start your non-Maxwell stars as well. I think round nine maybe like you got like Thunder to start, and you got like a loop. You got all this other stuff that's sort of on the table as well, right? So maybe it's not as maybe you might not be as keen to start them in round nine, although they are at home against the Hurricanes in round nine. So they've got some good fixtures to end this season. You know, round seven, they faced Sixers at home. Round eight, they're going to Renegades for bottom. Round nine, they're home to Hurricanes. I think Stars have a nice little run to end the season. If you've obviously probably got Maxwell already, so he's definitely a hold. Um, and I think if you've got anybody else, you might want to consider starting them as well. Um, Hurricane, you probably still have a bunch of Hurricanes from the double
Hmm.
that's finishing like today. Um, you could, again, as I mentioned earlier, you could hold them for round eight. I think that makes sense. They've got a home game against the Strikers in round eight. Canes are pretty good at home. Strikers are pretty bad away from home. Guys like McDermott are pretty good at Blunston. Um, Guys like Ellis, you might want to hold on to them, and then you can Canes are fine at home, and then you can then sell them in round nine. Uh, Even if you don't want Canes, I would say that they are. It's not necessary to get rid of them right now. You can hold for round eight if you have to. It's totally fine. Scorchers have 2 home games in a row to finish the season, by the way, rounds eight and nine, which is not bad at all. I don't know how many Scorchers you would have because the thing is the Scorchers picks are also quite expensive. So you might want to sell them to get the cash to get to like a Sam's or whoever. Berendorf, Lance Morris, Ty, uh, Hardy, etc. Just whoever it is, Inglis maybe, whoever it is. But they do have two home games. One is against the Heat in round 8, and round 9 is home to the Sixers. Those are again two great games at home. They're just invincible at home.
Oh, did you
You might
say,
want to
sorry, they've got
consider
an
just
away? Did you say they've got a final round game against the Sixers?
yes, and they're at home.
Awesome. I'll let you finish your point, and then I'll finish up with one
Yeah.
myself.
So I just to sort of wrap up the Scotches thing, obviously they're a hold, but Aaron Hardy is going to be at this means that Aaron Hardy is going to be at home for the last two rounds of the season. And I think especially in round 8 right now, if you don't fancy captaining Matt Short, you could captain Hardy. He's at home against the Heat. Why not? He's such a like he's just a gun at home, you know. Strikers had to bowl out of their skin to I think like restrict him in that last home game.
Mm,
Um, but like he's got a couple of home games to finish off the season. If let's say you're open to captaining somebody on a single in round 9, even with Thunder on the double, you let's say you vice captain Bancroft and he just fails in the first game and you just don't like the look of him at showground against the Renegades, you could go to Hardy as your captain. I think that's the standout choice there.
yeah. Well, the point that I wanted to just very quickly make before we wrap up is I was just having a look at the BBL table, and it's a little bit different. As I said, I kept filling out of the loop a little bit until very recently, right? So I'm looking at the table. Every team plays 10 games. The Scorchers have played. So the table at the moment is the Heat are like clearly first. And if they win today against the Scorchers, that's it. They've locked up number one spot. Looking at number 2 and 3, it's the Scorchers and the Sixers. So if the Scorchers win today, they'll almost definitely lock up second. But either way, Heat, Scorchers, Sixers are in third, a very clear top three. And then there's a fight for fourth spot between the Stars, the Strikers, and the Hurricanes. And the Thunder and the Renegades, their season is very much done. But the reason why I was bringing that up is because it does mean that the Scorchers, it's going to be a different scenario to previous years where they will still be trying their best until the very end, and they'll need to keep winning. I forgot exactly how the BBL finals work, but I'm pretty sure second spot means something. It's either is it first v second? That there's that game, whatever the hell it's called.
I think it's the other way around, isn't it? It's you go
Second
bottom
v
up.
third.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I'm confusing it with the WBBL finals where it's third and fourth and they get knocked out and I'll have to
Yeah.
double check.
Well,
Yeah.
whatever it is, like there is some importance in coming second instead of third. So the Scorchers won't be, resting quicks and all that kind of stuff. They might have
Exactly.
rotated like one of their quicks in this little sprint of 5 games in 10 days. And obviously you saw Berendorf got rested. I'm pretty confident Lance Morris at some point will miss a game. But regardless, just wanted to make a point around the fixtures, how close the table is this year. Every team,
Yep.
like in that top six, the Stars, Strikers, and Hobart are playing out for that sort of fourth spot. The top three, if the Heat lose today against the Scorchers, then first spot is still on the line. So actually, the Heat and the Scorchers play twice in the next sort of handful of days, which is awesome. It's going to be great
Yep.
viewing, super meaningful
Yep.
games. And if you're thinking from a super coach point of view, like you can be relatively confident that they're not going to be resting the quicks for these games. And then you
Yes.
mentioned that actually, you know what? That's perfect because then you said that the Scorchers and the Heat play each other twice, right? That means the Heat's games are done, and then the Scorchers' last game is against the Sixers. So that means the Scorchers' games are done. So it's like such a holy shit. It's going to be an amazing into the Big Bash.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is it. And just to sort of add to that, this is another reason to shift your Heat. They win today, you know that there's a chance they could rest their guys.
Mm.
Uh, Whoever they are, especially the fast bowlers. I think the maybe the ones who've been struggling with injury, whatever. Just I think the batters should be okay. Like I don't think Monroe or anybody's going to get dropped. But anyway, just
Nah,
something to
they
think about.
wouldn't only because if they've got that buy in round 9 and then a couple of days before they find it means that they've got
Yeah,
quite a decent break as well.
yeah, exactly. Last point, I realized we didn't put this on my notes, but I realized the test guys are going to be available for a
Ah, of
bit.
course.
Um, Yeah, just I think when talking about any good singles left in this season, if you're not attacking the Thunder super hard right now in round 8, um, consider some of the test guys because it's I think it was a little bit awkward at the start of the season because there were like some buys coming up and some guys were only going to play half the double and like it was a bit awkward I think with the fixtures because going for let's say Khwaja for example, he wasn't going to play the Heat's entire triple. So it was a little bit awkward trying to go for him. But this is a single, right? Everybody's on a
In
single
saying
right
that,
now.
is it only Steve Smith that they can potentially bring in? Because the Heat, Usman Khawaja and Labuschagne play today, but that's still part
Hmm.
of this round, round 7. So with round 8, is it literally only Steve Smith, or am I missing someone?
Um, could Carey play possibly?
No,
Alex
Carey's
Carey
already
played
played.
yesterday.
He's not playing the next game. He said that on commentary.
He's not
So I
playing
think it
another
is
one.
just Steve
Okay.
Smith. Yeah,
Oh,
because
it's only
if I
Steve
go
Smith.
down, so Warner's retired, so obviously Warner will be an option as long as he makes it back from his brother's wedding. I would literally
Yep.
go on batting on real quick. Warner, Kawaja, and Labuschagne 2 and 3. They are
Labuschagne.
playing, but they're playing in round 7, so you wouldn't want to trade them in round 8 when they're not going to play. Steve
Hmm.
Smith is playing, so he's the one legitimate option.
Yep.
Head is confirmed not playing. Green is almost definitely not playing. I've heard nothing about him. There's just no way that he plays out of nowhere with his fragile body at this age. Number 7,
Carey.
Kerry. We just said that he's just played. He's not going to play the next one. There's no way the
Four
bowlers are
bowlers.
playing, and
The
I'm
bowlers are
pretty
going to play.
confident that Lion. Oh, they are playing.
Hmm.
What?
No, they aren't. They aren't.
Oh, okay. I was I was shocked. But no,
No
awesome. So
chance.
it is
Yeah.
pretty much Steve Smith, and that'll be really, really interesting because
Okay.
it will be
Hmm.
every team will have the like a single game round, and he could be a huge pod. You would have to trade
Yeah.
him in and then trade him back out straight away.
Yep.
But that could be
Fine. That's
a
fine. He
really
made
interesting
100 against
move.
the Thunder last year. Who's going to stop him? Daniel Sams.
Well,
At
275K.
the
You're
FCG.
theoretically, you know what would be a ridiculously crazy move? Going Matt
Yep.
Short to Steve Smith,
Short.
saving
Yeah.
yourself 40K. Oh, I don't know. Like with my season done, I might actually
Yeah.
have a look at it for a bit of fun. But yeah, crazy,
Hmm.
crazy move.
Yeah. I think I remember reading something on Twitter. I don't know how accurate this was, but potentially Matt Short getting called up to the test squad.
No,
See
he's
if
not.
that
The squad's
happens.
announced.
Oh, okay, okay, my bad. I
Yeah.
think I missed the squad news. Okay,
No, all
never
good.
mind what I said then.
No, no, all good. One thing I would say, right, and this is absolutely crazy, and I don't think even I would do this, but you could theoretically go short to Steve Smith for round 8. Every team's on the single, right? And then go Steve Smith to Dan Sams for that final round, and each time you'd be saving like 30, 40, 50K. So
So you can't buy Smith and Sam's in the same round,
oh,
though.
you
That's
could
something you're
like
locking yourself into.
you could like so I've got 60K spare in my bank, right? So theoretically, I could go short to Smith, save myself another 50K or whatever it is, 40 or 50K.
Yeah,
That's about 100K in my bank. And then it's not that hard to go to Sam's. He's 220K, but I've got
you
100K
need
in my
something
bank.
in the bank.
Yeah, so I
Hmm.
actually could if I wanted, and I probably will. I'll
Okay.
probably do something silly because I'm pissed off. But yeah, not to say that I'd recommend it,
Okay,
but it is probably a
never
good
mind.
place
Yeah.
to good place to leave it. Again, guys, as always, Google Wiki Linktree. You'll find the pod that we're doing now, our Discord, our data tools, our content, everything that we do is free. I would say we put in a lot of effort over the Big Bash. I hope you guys have enjoyed our stuff. So Shane, it's been really fun doing this with you. We've obviously got a couple of podcasts left before round 8 and 9. But yeah, the thing that I guess that Wiki's sort of become famous for, I guess, is rugby league because we've done it for 4 whole seasons. It's been really fun doing a lot more BBL stuff with Shane over the last 2 BBL seasons. We will start to do a little bit of stuff on the AFL this coming year. I used to love AFL growing up. We just haven't been able to do much of it from Wiki's point of view. And we also have an NFL and NBA podcast odds comparison tool, etc. So we're trying to become
Yeah.
the number one sports betting fantasy community content company in Australia and expand our expand our offering overseas with a lot of our cricket stuff. So I think I was saying a lot of this stuff in 2023, and we didn't get all the way that we wanted to, but we did kick a lot of goals in 2023. Our team is bigger and better this year, so yeah, really excited for a big year in 2024.
Last thing I want to say, let's do a
Yeah,
post-season Supercoach wrap-up pod. I'd love to talk about the stuff that I did better this season, less stuff that I did worse. Like a post-season wrap-up
that'd be
kind of
cool.
pod. I think
What
that'd be
we
good
could
fun.
do is
Kind
we
of
could
chill.
do like
Yeah.
a wrap up pod into like a mini finals preview. And if we think
Mm,
if we think it's not a great idea to combine the two, we could make it like the wrap up as most of it, and then like a really quick finals preview. Anyways, we'll
sure.
plan it up, but I
We'll figure
definitely
that
would
out.
love to do that because what we can do, we can share our screen, go like round by round ranks and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
anyways, we'll very excited to do that. We'll get into that later. But anyways, we'll catch you guys soon. Enjoy the games. There's gonna be a lot of good and relevant games coming up.